"This isn't personal, Emily," my father said, not looking up from his desk. "You're just too soft for this business. Always worried about employee welfare and environmental impact when we should be focusing on profits." I stood in his office at Mitchell Manufacturing, the company my grandfather had built from nothing, listening to my own father fire me. My brother James leaned against the wall, barely concealing his smirk. "The board agrees," Dad continued. "Your position as Vice President of Operations is being eliminated. James will absorb your responsibilities." 6 months of careful planning had led to this moment. They thought they were firing me, but they were actually setting my real plan in motion. "And the sustainable manufacturing initiative I proposed?" I asked, already knowing the answer. James snorted. "Scrapped. We're not running a charity here, sis. This is business." What they didn't know was that while I'd been playing the role of the soft executive pushing for corporate responsibility, I'd been quietly building Phoenix Global Industries, a conglomerate that now owned controlling interests in dozens of manufacturing companies across Asia and Europe. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a message from my real assistant, Alexandra. "Final preparations complete. Shell companies ready to begin acquisition phase." "I understand," I said quietly, playing my part. "I'll clean out my office." "Don't worry, sweetheart." Dad finally looked up, his expression patronizing. "We'll keep you on the family trust. You won't have to work at all." If he only knew that my soft business approach had built an empire worth billions while they were still running Mitchell Manufacturing like it was 1980. Back in my office, I began my performance of packing personal items while secretly initiating the most important business moves of my career. Another text from Alexandra. "Target share price identified. Begin accumulation." "Execute Plan A," I replied. "Start with the smaller stockholders." James appeared in my doorway, unable to resist a final jab. "Hey sis, don't feel bad. Not everyone is cut out for the cutthroat world of business. Maybe you could start a nonprofit or something." I smiled, thinking about the hostile takeover I was about to launch. "Maybe you're right. Thanks for the suggestion." That evening, in my real office, the penthouse suite of Phoenix Tower, I watched as my team began systematically acquiring Mitchell Manufacturing stock through a complex network of shell companies. "They've been rejecting modernization for years," I told my board via video conference. "Their outdated manufacturing processes are killing their margins. Their stock is undervalued because of poor management, making them the perfect acquisition target." "And they have no idea you're behind Phoenix Global?" one board member asked. "None." I pulled up the company's financials. "They think I'm probably at home crying over my firing. Instead, I'm about to teach them a lesson about modern business practices." Alexandra appeared with more updates. "First wave of share purchases complete. We now own 15% through various subsidiaries." "Good." I looked out over the city skyline, thinking about how tomorrow's stock trading would begin the endgame. Have our PR team ready. When they realize who's behind the takeover bid, it's going to make headlines. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Honey, are you okay? Your father means well. He just wants what's best for the company." If she only knew what was coming. I typed back, "I'm fine, Mom. Everything happens for a reason." Over the next 2 weeks, Mitchell Manufacturing's stock price began climbing as my shell companies systematically acquired shares. I watched from my penthouse office as my family scrambled to understand what was happening. "Emergency board meeting called," Alexandra reported. "Your father seems quite agitated about the mysterious buyers." On my screens I could see James pacing in his office, my old office, while barking orders into his phone. The company's stock had jumped another 15% today alone. "Ms. Mitchell," my lead counsel appeared on video chat. "We're now at 43% ownership. The remaining shares we need are mostly held by board members and your family trust." Perfect timing. I pulled up another screen showing the family trust's financial status. Information I'd made sure was hidden from my father and brother. What they didn't know was that I'd been managing the trust through a series of proxy accounts for years. Alexandra, initiate phase 2. Within hours, the trust's administrators, secretly on my payroll, began selling shares to my companies. By closing bell, Phoenix Global Industries controlled 49% of Mitchell Manufacturing. My phone exploded with family messages. "Dad, Emergency family dinner tonight. Mandatory attendance. We're under attack. James, some corporate raider is trying to steal our company. Mom, please come, honey. Your father needs all hands on deck. I replied that I'd be there, smiling at their panic. They had no idea that their soft daughter had orchestrated this entire situation. The family dinner was set for our usual table at the exclusive Madison Club. I arrived early, dressed not in my usual modest attire, but in a tailored Armani suit that cost more than James's car. Emily. Mom rushed to hug me. Thank God you're here. We're in trouble. Dad and James sat hunched over laptops, looking years older than they had 2 weeks ago. Someone's buying us out, Dad announced grimly as I sat down. We can't trace the actual buyers. They're hiding behind shell companies and offshore accounts. Probably some Asian conglomerate, James added. They've been circling us for months. I sipped my water, enjoying the irony. Really? How fascinating. Tell me more about this mysterious buyer. They're using multiple companies, Dad explained, running his hands through his thinning hair. Phoenix Global Industries is the parent company, but we can't find any information about who runs it. Have you considered their offer might be good for the company? I asked mildly. Their reputation for sustainable manufacturing and employee welfare is quite impressive. James snorted. Of course you'd focus on that. This is why you weren't cut out for business, sis. While you're worried about sustainability, we're about to lose our company. I checked my phone, a message from Alexandra. Final share purchase authorized. We now control 51%. Announce. Not yet, I typed back. Let them finish digging their own grave. Dad was still talking. We've called in every favor, contacted every ally. Nobody knows anything about who runs Phoenix Global. Actually, I set down my phone, that's not entirely true. What do you mean? Dad looked up sharply. Do you know something about Phoenix Global? I took my time savoring the moment. You could say that. In fact, I know exactly who runs it. James laughed dismissively. Right. And how would you know that? You've been out of business for months. Have I? I pulled out my tablet and slid it across the table. On the screen was Phoenix Global's corporate structure, with my name and photo at the top. Or have I been building something much bigger than Mitchell Manufacturing while you were busy underestimating me? Mom picked up the tablet with trembling hands. This can't be real. Oh, it's very real, I replied calmly. Phoenix Global Industries, parent company to 37 manufacturing firms across 3 continents. Current market value, approximately $12 billion. Dad's face had gone pale. You're the one buying our company? Correction. I checked my phone as Alexandra's final confirmation came through. I just finished buying your company. As of 4 minutes ago, Phoenix Global owns 51% of Mitchell Manufacturing. James lunged for his laptop, frantically checking the stock ownership records. No. Yes, I smiled. While you were calling me too soft for caring about employees and sustainability, I was building one of the most successful manufacturing conglomerates in the world. Turns out modern business practices actually make more money than your outdated methods. Mom had actually fainted, slumping in her chair while a waiter rushed over with water. This is impossible, Dad whispered. You're just what, Dad? Too soft? Too concerned about worker welfare? Fun fact, Phoenix Global's profit margins are triple Mitchell's, precisely because we invest in our workforce and sustainable practices. I pulled up more documents on my tablet. Your outdated manufacturing processes waste millions annually. Your employee turnover costs you even more. And your resistance to modernization has left Mitchell Manufacturing vulnerable to exactly this kind of takeover. You can't do this, James stood up, his face red. We're family. Funny, I replied coldly. That didn't seem to matter when you were smirking in Dad's office as he fired me. Alexandra appeared at my side. My actual assistant, not the junior employee they thought she was. Ms. Mitchell, the press release is ready. Should we announce the acquisition? Yes. I stood up, straightening my jacket. Also, please have security ready tomorrow morning. I'll be taking occupancy of the CEO's office. You're taking my office? Dad finally found his voice. Actually, I'm taking my office. Along with control of the company you thought I was too soft to run. I handed him a folder. These are the terms of your retirement package. James, your severance agreement is in there too. Severance? James sputtered. You're firing me? Of course not, I smiled. I'm offering you a choice. You can either accept a junior position in our sustainable manufacturing division, where you'll learn modern business practices, or you can take the severance. Mom had recovered enough to speak. Emily, honey, why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. You all were so convinced that caring about more than just profits made me weak. You never stopped to consider that it might actually make me stronger. I gathered my things, preparing to leave. Board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll be announcing our new direction, including the sustainable manufacturing initiative you rejected. When Dad? Don't bother coming to the office. Your access has been revoked. As I walked out of the Madison Club, I could hear James still protesting, Dad still sputtering about family loyalty. But business isn't about family loyalty. It's about vision, innovation, and understanding that true success comes from building something sustainable, both environmentally and economically. The next morning, as I sat in my new CEO's office, the same office where I'd been fired 6 months ago, Alexandra brought in the morning papers. The headlines all screamed variations of the same story. Phoenix Global's mysterious CEO revealed. Ousted daughter returns to take control of family empire. I picked up my phone to call Mom, who'd been texting apologetically all morning. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying what others built. It's about building something better and letting them see exactly what they lost when they underestimated you. Mom, I said when she answered. Why don't you come by the office today? I'd love to show you what a soft approach to business can really achieve. Because sometimes the strongest leadership doesn't come from being cutthroat. It comes from understanding that compassion and success aren't mutually exclusive. They just couldn't see it until it was too late.